What are the fields of action for these strategies? 4. Education, youth, migration, and media. Let me stress that in the face of the diversity of national circumstances, such national plans cannot be devised according to a single model. But on the other hand, intercultural dialogue depends on international law and covenants, regional decisions and policies, and national legal frameworks outlining basic human, civic, economic, social, and cultural rights. Therefore, the full use of this broad legal framework makes a difference, because intercultural dialogue can only take place in an environment where a person is guaranteed safety and dignity, quality of opportunities and participation, where different views can be voiced openly without fear, where there are shared spaces for exchanges between cultures to take place. So in spite of their diverse and heterogeneous implementation into national legislation or policies, those tools should be used as a stimulus to develop good governance of cultural diversity according to ambitious benchmarks and to help map sector approaches and policies aimed at promoting intercultural dialogue. Moreover, this common legal framework may help generate sources of good practice projects, inspire new initiatives. New initiatives are always needed. Develop standard indicators for evaluation and monitoring programs, and open the way towards a common paradigm of strategy for intercultural dialogue. Mr. Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, all our countries, I stress this point, all our countries, one way or the other, face the challenge of good governance of cultural diversity. This is not only about integrating migrants or minorities. This, in fact, is all about preparing the minds and hearts of all individuals and peoples for the fact that globalization forces us to live in a global village where we are permanently confronted with identity dilemmas and diversity issues. This is, in fact, all about education, about learning how to live together in our globalizing world, where clashes anywhere are, in fact, clashes everywhere, and where cultural and religious fault lines divide our societies. This is why national plans and regional strategies are top priorities of the Alliance for the next 2 years, according to the implementation plan which has been presented, 2009-2011. To drive this agenda forward, the commitment and the involvement of civil society, NGOs, voluntary and civic organizations, foundations, local communities, churches, and faith-based organizations is absolutely paramount. Why? Because they are indispensable partners in delivering results. Because they can catalyze action within countries, mobilize broad-based movements, and hold leaders accountable for their commitments. Because, after all, there are many policies and actions aimed at mapping roads and building bridges. But to go further, I mean to break down the walls and to create shared spaces for dialogue and cooperative action. Many more efforts are needed, which require the engaged participation of the civil society. This is why another of our priorities for the coming 2 years will be to increase the participation of the Alliance networks by developing cooperation and partnerships with all stakeholders and to engage them in concrete projects. Now, how can the Alliance help to achieve the organization of American states' objectives and goals? Dear friends, the complex international situation created 8 years ago on that tragic September 11, 2001, makes the dialogue of civilizations, religions, and cultures an urgent priority of our times. To put it even more bluntly, the current international difficulties, added now to the emerging economic downturn, increase the anxiety we all feel in living together in mutual respect and have encouraged the misguided view that cultures are set on an unavoidable collision course leading to a clash of civilizations. We face increased polarizations looming against the backdrop of growing tensions over a series of political issues and growing cultural stereotypes. This is about the so-called West-Islam divide, but is also about other widening rifts that oppose communities and societies of various ethnic, cultural, and religious backgrounds. Moreover, socioeconomic marginalization and discrimination generate disaffection and intolerance and aggravate the tensions and conflicts among communities. These divides, which tend to oppose always two fictional monolithic blocks, fuel further stereotypes and polarization and, of course, give rise to extremism. But let me stress that the vast majority of people, in fact, reject extremism in any society and support respect for religious and cultural diversity. All communities are concerned by the challenges of security and the threat of social polarization. In order to tackle the widening rifts among societies and communities, new strategies to promote good governance of cultural diversity based on respect for universal human rights should be developed urgently. This urgency is required because the worsening world economic situation is likely to take a huge toll on the poorest and the most vulnerable, thus fueling the sense of iniquity and discrimination, which in turn may be linked to patterns of radicalization and violent conflict. Urgency is also needed because, generally speaking, the social pact behind every society is showing signs of what I called erosion, and this can be observed almost everywhere. In a world of porous borders, where migration and the mobility of populations are a driving force for economic and social development, our societies face new identity fears, discrimination and divisions related to their increasing cultural diversity. All communities have a sense of belonging, and their members need to feel that they are part of a common destiny and of a shared future. But for different reasons, this basic feeling is at risk in many societies. Last but not least, this urgency is mainly due to the fact that as the world grows more interconnected, the far-reaching effects of distress and violence also increase extraordinarily. We all know how in this age of global information, and I repeat the sentence, a conflict anywhere easily becomes a conflict everywhere. It is against this background of urgency that the Alliance of Civilizations has a role to play in building peace, in the broad sense of the term, as well as in helping to find answers to our current and shared difficulty of living together as equals, regardless of our differences, and of course to live together in dignity. This is why the main task of the Alliance is to deal, again I repeat, with good governance of cultural diversity as a big change, even if its primary focus is, again, the so-called West-Islam divide. But because of its global scope, the Alliance matters to your region. Next year, the annual forum of the Alliance, its main flagship event, will take place in Rio de Janeiro of course, Brazil. So this is a unique opportunity for the Organization of the American States to give a major contribution to the advancement of the goals of the Alliance in this region.